You're watching NBC4, working for you. Live from the area's leading news station, this is News 4 at 5.
A guilty plea today in a case that shocked this community. The shooting death of an 8-year-old girl as she sat inside a house watching television.
Good evening. Welcome to News 4 at 5. I'm Wendy Rieger.
And I'm Susan Kidd. We'll have more on that in just a moment. But first, we have some severe weather in parts of the region.
Veronica Johnson's up in the Storm Center with more. How's it? Are they moving through now, Veronica?
They are moving through, and fairly rapidly, too. The only warning that's left up for the area right now, not saying that it's going to be the last, but the only one that's up is Prince George's County until 5:15, just east of the district. These storms heading toward Upper Marlboro and Davidsonville. What we've seen so far with these storms today is that they have produced some high wind gusts upwards of 60 miles per hour. They have produced some hail. We had reports of hail in the Fairfax area of Annandale, as well as in Falls Church. And we've got some more storms, too, that are building just down to the south and west. So really, I think that by 7 o'clock, most of this will be over. But let me show you earlier, just a few minutes ago, some of the heavy rain that pounded the area. The rainfall rates, well, let's just say that our instruments had a hard time keeping up, raining at a rainfall rate of well over 4 inches per hour in some instances. Let me go ahead and show you around the area. You can see the big drops hitting the lens of the camera, and look at the big totals that piled up, close to 1.25 inches there. That rate coming down at nearly 7 inches per hour. Temperatures cooling, but they'll climb a little bit more by the time the sun sets. We'll talk about all the storms that pull through the area, as well as Bonnie and Charlie, and how much rain we can expect from them coming up in full weather. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Veronica. More now on today's guilty plea in the Chelsea Cromartie killing. The 8-year-old girl died when a bullet came crashing through the front window of her aunt's home and struck her in the head. Chris Gordon's at D.C. Superior Court with reaction. Chris?
Brothers Rashid and Ricardo Hall had faced the possibility of life in prison if convicted at trial, and that's what the family of the 8-year-old thought they deserved. But today, as a result of a plea bargain with prosecutors and reduced charges to second-degree murder, Rashid Hall, who was the trigger man, faces the possibility of 50 years, while his brother Ricardo faces 40 years or less. The mother of Chelsea Cromartie came out of court so upset she was unwilling to speak. Her family feels it is unfair that the young men responsible for the death of the 8-year-old will have their lives spared after they served time in prison.
They deserve life just like they took hers.
8-year-old Chelsea Cromartie was shot in the head by a stray bullet that went through a window and killed her as she sat watching TV on a couch in her aunt's house on May 3rd. She was the unintended victim of a feud that began hours earlier at this carryout when a group of teens insulted Rashid Hall and his girlfriend, and then, according to Hall's attorney, attacked them as Hall drove away.
And some young punks tried to kill Rashid Hall just a few minutes before. Now, they didn't use the best judgment, and no one suggests that they should have done this, but that doesn't take away from their lifetime of achievement and that they are a good people, and I just hope that the community and the court can realize that.
Rashid Hall called his brother Ricardo and told him to bring a hammer, meaning a gun. Then the brothers went looking for the teenagers. They thought they spotted two, and shots were fired, but the only person hit was Chelsea Cromartie.
Why did they plead guilty at this time, knowing that the victim's family really wants life terms in prison?
Well, they pled guilty because they, first of all, felt a sense of responsibility to save the family more pain of going through a trial. They're very remorseful, and the way you do that in the criminal justice system is to accept responsibility without putting the family through additional heartache.
As a result of this plea bargain agreement, the brothers Rashid and Ricardo Hall will be sentenced here in November. Because they are young men in their 20s, there will come a time that they will be released and allowed to live their lives, which the family of Chelsea Cromartie says is unfair because they will never get another moment with a little girl. We're live at D.C. Superior Court. Back to you in the studio.
Chris Gordon. Thank you, Chris.
There is new information about the suspect in the shooting of a 15-year-old girl in the district. He may be implicated in another recent murder. 20-year-old Joshua Ross is charged in the murder last month of 15-year-old Maisha Lowe. She was shot and killed as she sat in a car on F Street Northeast. Police say she was not the intended target. She was the 16th juvenile killed in the district this year. At a detention hearing today, it was revealed that ballistics evidence ties the gun used in the Lowe murder to another murder that was committed 10 days earlier. Ross is now being held without bond. No word yet on when that last suspect that was arrested in the serial bank robberies will be extradited back to our area. Omar Holmes was arrested yesterday in Laredo, Texas. Police believe he was part of a heavily armed band of robbers who held up 6 banks in the D.C. area. Holmes is the 9th person to be charged in connection with these robberies. The other 8 suspects are already in custody. The serial bank robbers are believed to have stolen more than $300,000 during their robbery spree.
A crackdown on local motorcycle gang members. Fairfax County Police, along with several other law enforcement agencies, made arrests today, part of a 2-year undercover investigation. This morning, 11 search and arrest warrants were executed in Virginia and Maryland. Investigators arrested 7 suspects. Those suspects charged with drug and firearms violations, promoting gang activity, and various probation violations. Police say the investigation is ongoing and more arrests are expected. Julie Carey will have more on the story coming up on News 4 at 5.
2 men are under arrest after leading police on a chase in a stolen tour bus. The chase began in the district near South Capitol and Forester Street Southwest and ended minutes later in the Forest Heights section of Prince George's County. Mil Arcega is joining us by phone with more on this. Mil?
Hi, Wendy. Yeah, it's bus jacking is what you could call it. We're told the whole thing started just outside the Washington Hilton Hotel on South Capitol Street. This was about 1 o'clock this afternoon. Apparently, the driver of the charter bus stepped out of the bus just very briefly, but it was enough time for someone to go in and steal the bus. Now, we're told that law enforcement officers from the district, Prince George's County, and Forest Heights were in about a dozen cars when they took pursuit of this bus. They ended up in Forest Heights. That's where the bus ended up, wedged between 2 houses and an old tree. Now, if we have pictures that we sent earlier, the location is just off Woodland Drive in Forest Heights, Maryland, which is, as you can probably see, a very quiet community with only one way in and one way out through Livingston Drive. This is what the residents tell us. The road was actually blocked when the chase was going on. So apparently the driver was circling around the community looking for a way out before crashing the bus and then trying to take off on foot. Prince George's County Police say that they have taken 2 suspects into custody, but we still don't have any word yet on those charges, Wendy. But again, there were no passengers on that bus, and again, luckily, there were no injuries. Live in Forest Heights, Maryland, I'm Mil Arcega. Back to you.
Okay. Thank you, Mil.
A tool to help people safely walk across busy streets in the district is being tested. The district's Department of Transportation testing a system called Smart Steps. It's set up at the crosswalk at Connecticut Avenue and Morrison Street near Chevy Chase Circle. Orange flags hang on posts on either side of the street. When it's a safe time to cross, pedestrians carry the flag with them so they're more visible. Then they replace the flag on the other side.
The beauty of this approach is the simplicity of it, because I think people are aware that you have to yield to pedestrians in the crosswalk. We're going to change that law. The law will be changed later this year to say you have to stop for pedestrians in the crosswalk. But if you don't see the pedestrian, then what good is it to have that law?
The Smart Step system will be tested for about 2 months.
At this hour, the D.C. School Board is set to formally announce the city's latest school superintendent. News 4 first reported Tuesday. The choice is former Rochester, New York Superintendent Clifford Janney. Tom Sherwood's here with more on this.
We need this
Finally.
search. Yeah, I know the superintendent search has been going on for almost a year. Now there's hope that school reform will finally get underway.
As News 4 first reported Tuesday, the choice is Clifford Janney, who is being picked today after 2 previous candidates rejected the job.
His resume reads to me that he is going to be able to accomplish something we're looking for, and that is improve student achievement.
Janney was superintendent of Rochester, New York schools for 7 years until 2002. Since then, he's worked for a private business educational instruction firm that operates in 20 urban areas. The mayor, who has fought recent increases in the school budget, says he's open to spending more if Janney controls waste in the system.
Leading hard, if a superintendent can come and can say, look, we've wrung out all the efficiencies we can, but here are some identified ways where an additional investment can actually produce an outcome, then I'm open to that.
At Rochester, Janney is credited with raising math and reading skills on state tests and narrowing the achievement gap between black, white, and Hispanic students. Janney is being appointed after an agonizing search that began last November with the resignations of first Paul Vance and then Alfreda Massey. Earlier this year, former New York educator Rudy Crew backed out to work for Miami, Florida. And then California educator Carl Cohn dropped out, even after the mayor made several concessions on running the schools.
Spectacular belly flop into concrete that I did with him.
The mayor is hoping Janney won't be another belly flop. The D.C. system spends $1 billion a year and has 65,000 students, twice the size of Rochester.
Wow, and it's been in a bit of turmoil for years. Are things going to, I mean, we had the control board, there's problems with the school board. Things going to start settling down, you think?
There are lots, well, that's the hope is that there will be some management controls. There are bureaucracy issues, too many schools. Some schools will have to be closed. The question is, will the city council, the school board, and the mayor all support the superintendent to get all those hard choices done? And that will be what we'll see in the coming year or two.
Tom, the system's had difficulty even counting the number of students in it.
Paul Vance, who was here, once told me in the middle of his term here, he just looked at me one day and he says, you know, Tom, I can't figure out how many students there are or how many people work for me. It is considered the last major bureaucracy in the district government. There's all kinds of reforms in the D.C. government over the last 5 to 10 years, and the schools are considered the biggest and most difficult bureaucracy in the city.
And that's a lot of money being spent there, though.
Yes, and the mayor wants it fixed, and so do the council members of the school board, because if the schools are fixed, they believe more people will move back into the city. The mayor wants 100,000 new residents in the district, and if you have a better school system, that will help keep and bring more people in.
Absolutely.
They couldn't want it fixed any more than the teachers and the parents.
Mm-hmm. Every person I know in town wants it fixed.
All right, thank you, Tom. When News 4 at 5 continues, we'll tell you about an emotional goodbye at funeral services for that armored car courier killed in a holdup.
And a local man is going to the mat to bring home a gold medal from Athens. We'll tell you about him.
There are 3 new additions here at the National Zoo, Sumatran tiger cubs. Now, they go on display to the general public tomorrow, but we got a sneak preview. We'll show you what they look like coming up.
How are the going?
And good afternoon. I'm Ken Forsyth here at the News 4 Traffic Network. Let's take a look right now, show you what's happening. We have an accident southbound 110 around 66, causing a slow trip off of 66, making the trip right now toward the Pentagon, southbound 110 at the Pentagon for the accident out of the road. A quick look in Springfield, 95 southbound. No major problems leaving the Beltway, heading down toward Newington and Woodbridge. Stay right here. News 4 at 5. We'll be right back.
Muscle, training, and desire have driven him to Athens. Now, 27-year-old Roddy Ferguson of Rockville will take it to the mat to bring home a medal. Pat Lawson-Muse has his story.
His college coach calls him the closest thing the world will ever have to Superman. He's 5'7", 225 pounds. He has just 5% body fat, can bench 30 times his weight, and run a 40-yard dash in 4.5 seconds. Friends call him obsessed.
The Olympics, just like anything else, is a process. And if you don't believe, then you don't belong.
Roddy Ferguson is a former Howard University triathlete who dabbled in judo as a boy. But 6 years ago, he quit dabbling.
Roddy, let me see you move.
Getting serious about competition, he quickly advanced, making it to the 2000 Sydney Games as an alternate. But that wasn't good enough.
You have to believe in the training. You have to believe in the work ethic. You have to believe that at the end of the rainbow, if you will, there's going to be a pot of gold.
It was a disappointment not making the team in 2000, knowing how good he was and how he had beat the #1 player at that time.
So Ferguson, who holds degrees in engineering and education, gave up a $70,000 a year job and a nice home.
You got to pay to play, as we say.
And he paid more. In the past year, he's undergone major ligament replacement surgery, ripped his thigh muscle from the bone, pulled his groin muscle, and dislocated 3 fingers. Still, Ferguson is focused.
The mind is stronger than the body. A whole lot stronger.
There it is.
and he'll use every muscle in his body to bring home the gold. Pat Lawson-Muse, News 4, Washington.
Phew. Ferguson is also working on his PhD, running an online training business, and says after Athens, he wants to play in the NFL. Meanwhile, with 2 days left till the opening ceremonies, Olympic security is being tightened even more, especially at the Athletes' Village. That village is a place that's supposed to make the world's top competitors feel right at home, but it could also be a target of terrorists or thieves. Organizers hired nearly 70,000 security guards to patrol the area. The village is under constant surveillance. Only people with special credentials are allowed inside. The officials there estimate that Greece will spend at least $1 billion on security at the Games.
And you can keep up with all the latest Olympic news online. Go to NBC4.com and just click on our Olympics link. You'll find schedules, TV listings, athletic profiles or athlete profiles, and articles on local Olympians. Some rare tiger cubs that were born at the National Zoo back in May go on public display starting tomorrow. But some lucky people got a sneak preview today, and our Megan McGrath was one of them.
Yeah, all righty. So they haven't quite mastered the stairs, but they're trying. And their clumsy moves just add to their charm.
Cute and adorable.
What have they been doing since you've been watching?
Playing and following their mother everywhere. They've been playing. They kept calling their mother.
Their names are Indonesian. There's Mara, which means fierce, Jalan, which means journey, and Besar, or mighty. The three cubs were born May 2nd, but they've been kept out of the public eye so they can bond with their mother and get used to their surroundings. Already, they're showing a lot of personality. Zoo officials say their grandmother is very laid back. Their mother, Soyono, has a lot of attitude.
Oh, she's there. She's what a tiger should be, actually. She doesn't put up with anything. She has her own ideas about how the world ought to work. I can see within these cubs that there's going to be both ones with attitude and ones that are laid back. You can see that already in these three young males.
Where's the third?
Sumatran tigers are an endangered species found only on the Indonesian island of Sumatra. There are fewer than 500 such tigers in the wild.
These tigers are basically our insurance policy in case we should lose Sumatran tigers in the wild. And right now that looks like a pretty good, if things don't change, that's what's going to happen.
The folks here today are members of the Friends of the National Zoo, and they got a sneak preview. But the cubs go on display to the general public starting Thursday morning. From the National Zoo, Megan McGrath, News 4.
And you can see the cubs starting tomorrow between 7:30 and 9:30 in the morning. And those hours will be extended as the cubs get a little older and stronger. They were too cute.
I would have picked them up and kissed their little faces.
They were too cute.
Still to come in our broadcast. A rabid fox is shot and killed in Northern Virginia. Now the health officials there are trying to find out if it's the same one that attacked 3 children the other day.
I'm Mary Alice Salinas in Arlandria, where prosecutors joined police on the streets to help fight crime. Now this very successful program has come to an end. I'll tell you about it coming up.
And a severe thunderstorm warning is out for Anne Arundel County until 6:15, and we watch the tropics for some upcoming heavy rain. It's all coming this way. Of the latest.
You're watching News 4 at 5.
Well, a lot of people in Florida are bracing for 2 big storms. Governor Jeb Bush declared a state of emergency today as Bonnie and Charlie moved closer to land. Both storms will become hurricanes before they make land. Bonnie is now in the Gulf of Mexico and aimed at Florida's panhandle. Charlie is expected to hit the Florida Keys. Later in the week, we could feel the effects of those storms from some heavy rains.
Right now, we're saying goodbye to the storm that moved through here just about an hour ago. Veronica?
These storms that we had this afternoon, just from a weather front that's moving through our area, not yet from the rains of Bonnie and Charlie. We are still under a severe thunderstorm warning for Anne Arundel County here for the next couple of minutes until 6:15. These storms heading toward Arnold and Annapolis. Then the next couple of minutes by 5:31 and 5:33. Heading off to the east very quickly. And what we've seen today, not just the heavy rain, not just the lightning, but some hail. Let me take you to the district, the downtown area. This around the courthouse. Hail and gully washer rains. Folks, we could be looking at some serious flooding problems, I think, as we come out of the weekend. But all that took is some thunderstorms building across the area, those ice crystals and the storms getting bounced about, tossed about, and then eventually they fall, and they did today, certainly. Here's a look at some of the rainfall totals throughout the area in Anne Arundel County, Severn, Maryland. Rainfall total nearly an inch and a half. Temperature now it's 70 degrees, but look at that rainfall rate. This is what we're talking about, the intense rain in a short period of time, nearly at a rate here of 8 inches per hour. Not quite as strong in Annandale, Virginia, but this is where the winds really gusted high up to 65 miles per hour. That's why we've had the warnings. One of the classifications there for a severe thunderstorm warning is that winds eventually or at times could get up to 65 miles per hour. The cooling temperatures, we dropped into the 70s, and now we're building back in some sections like Stroudsburg at 81 to 87 degrees in Martinsburg. But because we still have a few of those storms, they're still popping down to the south and west around Alexandria and on further down to the southwest and southern Prince William and Stafford, and moving back over the area. That watch still up until 8 p.m. There it is. It covers the entire viewing area. The other thing, of course, the storms of Bonnie and Charlie, still a tropical storm. Bonnie could become upgraded before it makes landfall early tomorrow morning. It made that move to the northeast, now traveling at 12 miles per hour. So Bonnie's moisture will continue heading on up, and Charlie, we'll see it likely as a Category 2 make landfall right around the central Gulf Coast of Florida sometime early Sunday morning, probably near Tampa. Both of these storms over the next 3 days will be spreading moisture up the mid-Atlantic, spots around from Columbia, South Carolina, right up over D.C. The first storm, Bonnie, by Friday morning, the second storm by late Saturday. So we'll have the heaviest rains here over our area, I think, Thursday night into Friday, and then again Saturday late. Here's a look at the futurecast. Those winds strong out of the south and southeast and picking up. So anytime we get these heavy downpours, we could have some very high winds coming with those storms. Here it is Thursday late, heavy rain from Philadelphia through the district down into Richmond and on over into places south around Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill. That rain continues to pull up to the north and east with some wind. Friday morning, we could get a bit of a break. Then again, Saturday late, some more heavy stuff coming in with Charlie. Here's the way the rainfall totals look over the next couple of days through Saturday. Over 4 inches from the district on east, places like Anne Arundel and Calvert, and even those spots south throughout the northern neck that don't need any more rain. Likely to be some flooding problems in a serious situation there. 2 to 4 inches expected from western Maryland and down through the Shenandoah. 7-day forecast. Let's put it up for you. Temperatures tonight, again, down to about 70 degrees. A lot more rain coming up tomorrow. We'll hit 82. Best part of the day tomorrow will be the early part of the day until that rain moves in. Heaviest, or I should say heavy rain from Thursday night into Friday morning. Friday still wet, Saturday still wet, but Sunday things could be drying out. Another storm on Monday, but certainly not anything what we're going to get the next couple of days. Back to you.
Wow, we are certainly paying for that nice weekend we had last weekend.
Our umbrellas out. Thanks, Veronica. Coming up, we'll tell you about a controversial program to screen airline passengers getting a major makeover. We'll tell you about that.
Plus, it's a community policing effort that's seen significant results in lowering crime, but it's also in danger of being scrapped.
I'm Jane Wattrell. It's been a long road back for a Montgomery County police officer who was shot and paralyzed on the job. I'll have his story coming up.
You're watching NBC4, working for you. Live from the area's leading news station, this is News 4 at 5.
It was almost a year ago that a Montgomery County police officer was shot and paralyzed while making a routine traffic stop. Now for Officer Kyle Olinger, life is anything but routine. Welcome back to News 4 at 5. I'm Susan Kidd.
And I'm Wendy Rieger. The bullet fired at Kyle Olinger hit him in the neck, left him paralyzed from the waist down. Since then, Officer Olinger's assignment has dramatically changed as he focuses on life in a wheelchair. Jane Wattrell joins us with an update now on Officer Olinger. Jane?
Well, Officer Olinger will be the first to tell you that life in a wheelchair has been rough, to put it mildly. But the first year is almost behind him, and he has very specific goals for the year ahead.
It was August 13, 2003, when Kyle Olinger's life changed forever. The Montgomery County police officer was shot in the neck during a routine traffic stop and paralyzed.
1 year later, he's back on the force, but it's taken months of both progress and setbacks.
Before I got paralyzed, I'd see somebody in a wheelchair and you think, oh, they just can't walk. There's a ton more things that go along with spinal cord injury. That your whole internal system is changed forever. And I can't do anything quickly anymore.
But don't underestimate Ollinger's mental toughness, honed from 2 decades of practicing and teaching the Japanese martial art of Aikido. That training, he says, saved his life.
Helped keep me alive because I stayed focused and I could stay aware of what I needed to do to survive. That all falls back on my training.
In February, Ollinger received a Medal of Valor for his bravery last year, an inspiration to the force. Now he says his goal is to overcome daily challenges, like getting in and out of his car, a routine that at first took 20 minutes and is now down to 10.
So I just deal with whatever I've got to deal with, and it's not been easy. It is hard, but I keep going, and every day a new challenge arises, and every day I learn how to overcome that challenge, and I get better at whatever I'm doing.
Kyle Ollinger has 2 goals right now. Short term, he wants to cycle in next year's Marine Corps Marathon. Long term, he says he's determined to walk. Susan?
Jane Wattrell. Thank you, Jane. Funeral services were held today for the courier who was killed in Hyattsville while he delivered money for an armored car company. Jason Schwindler was gunned down last Friday by robbers who got away with an undisclosed amount of money. The 28-year-old leaves behind a wife and young son. Schwindler worked for the Dunbar Armored Car Company, the president of Dunbar among the speakers at today's funeral in Millersville, Maryland. We'll have more on the service today and the farewell for Schwindler coming up later on News 4 at 6.
Police in Fairfax County say they were able to arrest a serial burglar because of help from people in the community. 29-year-old Esteban Pascual is being held without bond. Police say he's believed to be responsible for at least 6 burglaries in the Colmore community near Bailey's Crossroads. Detectives say they were able to create a sketch and identify the suspect because alert citizens saw the burglar peeping into the windows. He was arrested late last night in Prince William County.
For 3 years, an Alexandria prosecutor joined police on the streets to help make them safer. It was part of an experimental project that turned out to be a huge success. But it's come to an end, and Mary Alice Salinas has more.
Susan, that is because the federal dollars that pay for it have run out. Tom Cullen is Arlandria's so-called community prosecutor. He's an assistant Commonwealth's attorney who residents credit for helping to cut crime and improve their quality of life.
They look better, that's why for my business, excellent, yeah. Perfect. Better and better.
But after 3 years, the bilingual prosecutor is no longer working out of a satellite office in the heart of this Latino community. It was shut down last month after federal funding ran out. The office opened after the Commonwealth's attorney noticed that Spanish-speaking residents were the least likely to appear in court as suspects, witnesses, or even victims. Cullen's goal, to reach out to them and to fight and prevent crime.
What was more important was to communicate with us what leads to crime so we could try to do crime prevention so that no one would have to go to court.
Cullen worked during off hours and on weekends so that residents didn't have to miss work to go to the courthouse. He also worked the streets with police.
It gave them a go-to person to be available when they had issues that they needed to resolve quickly on the street in order to make charging decisions or to sort out particular situations.
Word spread among residents who started coming forward. Cullen coordinated city agencies, businesses, housing managers, residents, and other groups to do things like put in crosswalks, improve lighting, cut back trees and shrubs.
If you fix the broken windows and the small things, then you don't have big crime because people can take pride in their neighborhood again.
Everybody was noticing a difference. Crime went down.
Cullen will now work part-time, but he says the need here isn't as great now.
They're working together in a way that they hadn't done before. And the people know how to contact them and know that if they contact them, things can happen.
The Commonwealth's attorney wants to open other similar offices in other parts of the city where there is need. You can read more about this story in the Alexandria section of tomorrow's Washington Post. Back to you.
Mary Alice Salinas, thank you.
Well, the norovirus may still be out there. There's concern that it may have sickened another person at the University of Maryland and spread to another building on the campus. Over the weekend, more than 100 high school students who were attending a leadership conference got sick. They'd stayed at the La Plata Hall on the campus. Well, now campus officials say a student attending a music camp got sick last night at the Clarice Smith Performing Arts Center. That person also had stayed at La Plata Hall. The university has disinfected that hall and is sanitizing every building on campus now visited by those participants in the leadership conference and the music camp.
Stay with us. There's more to come on News 4 at 5. A team of researchers goes to work on using stem cells for the treatment of diabetes.
And despite the criticism from several months ago, Maryland's comptroller is speaking out again on issues of immigration and multiculturalism.
Also, a rabid fox has been shot and killed, and now officials are trying to figure out whether it's the same fox that attacked 3 children.
You're watching News 4 at 5.
Welcome back. Veronica Johnson here in Storm Center 4. We've had hail, we've had high winds, we've had heavy rain and even some lightning, but most of it moving out of the area now. The only warning that's left is the one that's in Anne Arundel County now until 6:15. Heaviest cell just south of Annapolis and moving northeastward out over the open water. Meanwhile, there's another area that we're watching just south and west of the district, Springfield and Lorton and Mount Vernon. The heavy rain now moving northeast with also some lightning. A little later tonight, things will settle down and will drop into the 70s. Susan?
Thanks, Veronica. Maryland's outspoken controller, William Donald Schaefer, is sounding off again, this time about illegal immigrants. At a meeting in Annapolis today, Schaefer learned the state spends about $40 million a year on health care for illegal immigrants. He responded by saying, our own people, that is, legitimate Americans, can't get health care. Schaefer says he supports legal immigration, but complained about people who aren't citizens and won't ask for a green card. Schaefer also predicted that America will have 2 languages, English and Spanish, in the next 3 to 5 years. He called that a tragedy.
Great Britain is taking another step in stem cell research. Britain issued its first license for human cloning. It's a 1-year research license for a team of scientists. The research team hopes to eventually create insulin-producing cells to be transplanted into people with diabetes. British regulators say they weighed medical, ethical, and legal issues and decided this is a responsible use of the technology. Stem cell research has become an issue in this presidential campaign in the U.S. Some scientists say stem cells taken from embryos are the most versatile and best for research. But opponents say it's immoral because fertilized embryos must be destroyed to harvest those cells.
A new device to help people with epilepsy is being tested. The device is designed to stop a seizure before it starts. Amy Kalman explains how it works.
Right now, yes, I am really wanting a seizure.
Dow Hammond started having seizures when he was 12, and for the first time in his life, he wants to have one.
So we programmed as the ones to pick up the seizures.
That's because he can't stop them without help. And this is the device that could do it, the latest in technology that detects when a seizure is coming and stops it before it hits. The new procedure, still in research, called NeuroPace, not yet proven to work 100%. It's a new option for candidates like Dow who don't respond to medication and could be at risk for surgery.
It is quite extraordinary. We have a small little computer chip that we can plant in the skull that will actually detect seizures successfully.
Doctors pinpoint where in the brain the seizures come from. Then they implant and wait for a seizure.
The potential is incredible. I mean, if it works as well as we hope it works, it could really revolutionize epilepsy surgery.
A little spot of the skull.
It's been 3 weeks for Dow, but he knows it might take 2 years before they know if it works.
I'd love to see what it's like to drive a car.
If it doesn't work for him, he shares hope with MCG researchers it will work for someone else.
It would be great if this device is able to come out and help many, many other people with epilepsy to take the seizures out of their life.
For NBC News, Amy Kalman.
If you'd like more information on this device and the clinical trials, you can go to our website, NBC4.com, and click on Health.
Police in Fairfax County say a fox that was shot and killed yesterday in Herndon has tested positive for rabies. They believe that fox is the one that bit 3 children in Herndon on Monday. The children are between the ages of 2 and 7, and they are undergoing rabies shots. The fox attack put a lot of people on guard. Police say now that the animal in question has been killed, people should feel safe walking in their neighborhood.
Coming up, the Homeland Security Department starts over on a controversial plan to run background checks on airline passengers.
And we'll introduce you to this week's Wednesday's Child, a 12-year-old hoping for his adoption wish to come true.
You're watching News 4 at 5.
A government project created to keep terrorists off airplanes is being reworked because critics raise concerns about privacy and other matters. The project is called Computer Assisted Passenger Pre-Screening System, or CAPS-2 for short. It's a computer system that would check passengers' backgrounds to make sure they're not terrorists. The original plan would have run a passenger's personal information against commercial and government databases. But that's being reworked because the critics were concerned it could violate privacy. Critics also questioned how a passenger could remedy being wrongly identified as a suspicious person.
We've got some live pictures now from Chopper 4 that illustrate how dangerous storms can be. This is a home in Vienna that was apparently struck by lightning. The fire at that home has been put out, and we don't believe anyone has been hurt in this, but these are live pictures from Chopper 4 where a home has been struck by lightning. And as our meteorologists are always telling you, if you're out in these storms, take cover, try to remain safe, because this is the kind of thing that can result. Of course, we'll get the latest information on this as soon as possible.
Okay. Each Wednesday, we bring you the story of a child looking for a permanent home. Tonight, Barbara Harrison reintroduces us to Gregory. He's 12 years old now, and he is still hoping that someone can make his wish for an adoption come true.
Hi, Gregory.
Hello.
I'm Barbara. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
What
too.
happened to your arm?
Got bit by a dog.
Oh my goodness, does it hurt?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. But you look like you're in good shape otherwise.
Yes.
You like playing a little basketball, or at least looking a little basketball? Gregory is a 10-year-old who says playing basketball is one of the things he wants to do when he grows up. Nicole Hawkins of the MCI Center welcomed us for a special tour. Gregory, who is currently in the foster care system, was a little nervous about all the special attention.
Gregory came onto the system in 1997 due to physical abuse and improper care from parents. He's been in the system for 6 years.
Gregory was all smiles when he got to shoot a few baskets on the court where the big guys play. But he said we shouldn't expect much because of his injury.
I can't shoot with this hand. I shoot with this hand.
Gregory is a really bright and happy young man. He's very athletic. He loves to play basketball and rollerblading and football, and very active in his neighborhood.
Being a basketball fan, Gregory got a real treat when he got to meet one of his favorite players. Who is that?
That's Kwame Brown.
Kwame Brown. You recognized him. Is he taller than you thought? Kwame told him to work hard at whatever he does and always remember to make those who love him proud. You know what adoption means?
Yeah.
What?
When they keep you.
He'll make somebody a wonderful son, so we really hope somebody will call us for Gregory.
He says he knows that good parents love their children. And what about kids?
They love them back.
That's the kind of family Gregory would wish for, if he believed in wishing. Did you ever have a wish that came true?
No.
Never? Maybe this time. Barbara Harrison, News 4 for Wednesday's Child.
If you have room in your home and your heart for Gregory or another child who's waiting, please call our special adoption hotline. That number is 1-882-ADOPT-ME, or you can log onto our homepage at NBC4.com.
Right now, let's check in to see what we're working on for News 4 at 6. Here's Jim Vance.
Susan, local and federal law enforcement officials have busted a local biker gang. We'll tell you about that also tonight.
Boy charged with bringing guns to school reaches an agreement in court today. I'm Jeff Napshin. Find out what happened coming up.
Those stories and more coming up at 6 o'clock, folks.
Thanks, Jim. Still to come, the Skins get ready for their second preseason game.
George is going to join us from Redskins Park. George?
Good afternoon, Wendy and Susan. Coming up, a veteran returns to the Redskins. He may be older than Sonny Jurgensen. We'll explain as News 4 at 5 continues.
There may be a Walmart in that skyline one day. The Walmart executives say they are negotiating for space in the Brentwood Shopping Center. They want to build a 100,000 square foot store at that Northeast Washington complex. The Walmart would go in a space originally planned for a Kmart. Developers scrapped that project when Kmart filed for bankruptcy 2 years ago. Supporters of the Walmart project say the chain would create jobs, generate tax revenue, and allow people to get things they need at a lower price. But critics say the chain doesn't pay its workers well and destroys small businesses. It's estimated nearly 10,000 people took part in the Eleanor Holmes Norton Job Fair today. They lined up at the new convention center in Northwest, hoping to impress some of the 70 potential employers inside.
Low-paying temp jobs, or little to nothing, so it's hard to find a job out, especially in the DC area.
You make a mistake, you pay your debt so-called to society, but then you still paying them. You know what I mean? You still pay, it seems to me. You just keep paying and paying and paying, you know? But I'm keep plugging. I'll be okay.
This is the 7th year that Congresswoman Norton has held this job fair. She says she especially hopes it made a difference for the African Americans there. Unemployment in the black community climbed from 10% in June to 11% in July. That's twice the national average.
Let's get the latest on the rush hour with those storms moving through. Ken Forsyth, has it wreaked havoc on the roads? Okay, well, we're not going to do traffic. We're going to do weather because of those storms moving through. Veronica, has it wreaked havoc on the roads?
Well, it has certainly in the Skyway, so much so that there were some ice crystals that got tossed about, and we even had some hail reported in the area, Chantilly, Annandale, Falls Church, and right over the district. This is the one storm that we're watching right now over southern Anne Arundel County. Right now, some strong, or I should say some heavy rain and strong winds over Tracy's Landing and the Sudley area, Galesville, and heading to the east, and another little pocket that's just down to the south there around areas of Alexandria. Here's a look at some of that rain in the Arlington area, now just over an inch, and over an inch also at Thomas Jefferson Middle School, Arlington, Virginia. Temperatures are in the 70s right now. They're likely to drop just a few more degrees later on tonight to 70, bottoming out. There's more rain coming our way tomorrow, especially tomorrow late. 82 the high for tomorrow, then only 80 on Friday. Saturday also still cool with some more rain moving through. There'll be 2 waves of that heavy rain coming through Thursday night, Friday morning, and again Saturday late. Back to you.
Okay. All right, thanks, Veronica. Let's see if the rain washed out practice as the Skins try to make it 2 in a row. George?
It is amazing, Susan and Wendy, that there was a heavy rainstorm. A lot of lightning and thunder came through here, and then it cleared off beautifully, and a crowd of at least 3,500 plus have turned out for this, the final practice the fans can come to. After this practice today, no more open practice, no more open practice for the fans to come see. Redskins have signed Sonny Jurgensen, a guy that I think he was blocking for you, Ray Brown, who's 40, 41 years old, just a warhorse of an offensive lineman.
He really has big body, big wide body. He knows how to play the game, George. He played with San Francisco. He played in Detroit. He played with Gibbs here when Gibbs was here before. Knows how to play the game. That kind of makes me think, though, that they may be thinking not only of Kenyatta Jones at tackle, but Derek Dockery, who played 4 years at Texas at right tackle. So they're trying to fill that spot. The period of adjustment for the Washington Redskins in the offensive line starts today.
Let me explain this more clearly. John Jansen's gone. Kenyatta Jones, everybody thought, would become the right tackle. By bringing Ray Brown in, you might move Derek Dockery from the left side over to right tackle.
Gives them a possibility. They're looking for the best man that was out there. Ray Brown was.
As far as Kenyatta Jones, let me take you out to the practice field. Everybody assumed that this guy, Kenyatta Jones, was going to get a chance. Now, number 74 in red, I must tell you, is Darrell Wright. He's a defensive tackle. 74 in white is Kenyatta Jones. Anyway, Kenyatta, you're going to get to play a lot now.
It's football. It happens. We're a family, and we got to, get another guy out of the family and put him in a position to do what we need to do to win. I'm going to do what I can do to, help the team out, if it's tackle, guard, center, wherever they need me at. So, like I said, it's an opportunity for me to step in and do what I've done before, and I'm going to run with it.
Kenyatta Jones actually started the Super Bowl for New England a couple years ago. He started 11 games at right offensive tackle. So we're talking about him out there because Randy Thomas will be back this week. So we want to put our best 5 on the football field. So with Samuels, Dockery, Lenny, and Randy Thomas and Kenyatta Jones, that's a very, very good group right there, very physical group. So he's something we're mulling over tonight. As a staff, we're talking about what we have to do.
What they did was get Ray Brown.
You got Ray Brown, but Kenyatta Jones came to the Redskins to play guard because they had the bookends in Jansen and Samuels, and now he's going to be forced to go back to the position that he is comfortable in.
You know, Sonny, it's interesting. We talk about all these guys that people know, the rookies and whatnot, but there are also guys you say, where do they get the rest of the players? So we sent Nicole Zalumis out and said, look, who is number one? We don't even know who he is. This is a guy that there's no book on, and yet he shows up on a Redskins field.
Exactly. People are saying Damian Douglas. Who is that? Damian who? Damian Douglas, a wide receiver. He's one of 10 wide receivers right now vying for a spot. Came out here, wasn't even signed at the beginning of training camp. Showed the Redskins what he got. Let's go back to last week. Damian Douglas, nobody even knew the Redskins had a number one on their team until Damian Douglas caught a touchdown pass during last week's practice. Now the former Philadelphia Eagle and Kansas City Chief, who was hurt last season, is trying to make the most of his opportunity with the Redskins, but he's still getting used to Gibbs' offense. You had that touchdown, spiked it in the end zone, felt good?
Felt great. Last year when I got hurt, I knew that my career had a chance to be over, because it's rare that guys sit out for a year and get an opportunity to come back because from college. So this is my chance to get back into what I love doing.
So you have this opportunity, you're just very difficult for him after Monday's performance.
Well, Gary Scott had a big game, you're right. But now we know who number one, Damian Douglas, is. And Ray Brown signed. Susan and Wendy, that means that no matter how old you are, if you can play, Joe Gibbs will bring you on board.
That's
good to know.
That is excellent to know.
We may have to take him up on that.
Well, thank you for joining us, but the news doesn't stop here.
I'll be joining Jim Vance next for News 4 at 6.